Sound awakens something deep within. Welcome to this podcast, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to the song of your soul. In this episode, I am joined by Dr. Nisha Manek, who is a pioneering rheumatologist, speaker, and a best selling author, known for integrating spirituality and consciousness into medicine. A fellow of the Royal College of Physicians and the American College of Physicians, she was the first in the United States to practice integrative rheumatology and held key roles at the Mayo Clinic. Hi, Dr. Manek. Thank you so much for being on my podcast today. I'm super excited. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Lakshmi, I just want to say thank you for having me on your podcast. And we had a short conversation before we got on here, and I just wanted to shout out to you. Here's the thing. Many podcast hosts like you, first of all, they read a bit of my book, Bridging Science and Spirit, and they haven't really internalized it. But I know it's okay. Everybody's busy. And the other thing I just want to say, in your age group, very few people are gravitating to what's essential in life, which is spiritual truth, which is looking to live a life that is seeking God, actually, you know? And when I met you, I was struck by that. And so for me to appear on a show like yours, I don't take that lightly. Okay, so it's a compliment and a shout out to you because you gave meaning. You gave meaning to bridging science and spirit and the science that links, analytical thinking all the way to spiritual realities because they're united. So you noticed that and you said, I want you on my show. I said, sure, why not? But again, I don't say yes very readily. Okay. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Manek. And I usually don't take these compliments, but I'm starting to as I speak right now, because I'm grateful for having you and Steve and many more people on my show so far, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah. And Steve Tonsager, right?
Yes.
And Steve is an old friend. I've known him for 20 plus years, an acupuncturist, but he's much more. He took the art of subtle energies, which is the acupuncture system, and that links to your consciousness and expands your bandwidth. And he's really reaching very high in his own evolution. So he's taking healing in a very beautiful way. Now, I don't want to go into Steve Tonsager's work, but I've followed it and I admire him because he does very rare things and it's from his own heart. He's planting a very important seed in this bigger conversation about human health, human healing, in all levels, not just the body, but the mind and subtle energies and then spiritual healing. So there you are. Steve Tonsager is on your channel. So I'm just really happy that see again, you picked him somehow. And I thought, how did that happen? Nobody
He said
knows him.
yes.
Yeah, nobody knows him.
Yeah, he said yes, so I'm grateful for that. So, Dr. Manik, how did your journey from Mayo Clinic rheumatology to the frontier of consciousness research, which is quite remarkable, spark you to take a leap from conventional medicine to exploring unseen realms of energy and intention?
Wow, nice question. I'm a very conventional medical scientist. I went to medical school in Scotland, Glasgow, and then went to Stanford University rheumatology fellowship. So I'm sort of, elbows with the big guys and the big gals. And yeah, very conventional. A plus B equals C. You identify something in the body that doesn't work, you analyze it, you put your jigsaw puzzle mindset, and then you do blood tests and do x-rays, and then you what do? You prescribe a chemical. right? So it was very drug-based medicine. And then I went all the way to the Mayo Clinic. Excellent conventional care. It is the sort of benchmark for excellence in medical science. You do research, you do clinical care. The patient is the center of your focus and research. So I was very much in those Mayo Clinic mindset, very academic. And then it was mid 2000s, a few things came up into my mind. Number one, what was the big problem? If you're going to make a change and you think you're content in your world of academics, what was the big problem? And the big problem, as I saw it, was we're sort of leaning into biochemistry all the time. We're leaning into chemistry all the time. And the truth was, certainly in rheumatology, which is a specialty that deals with or treats people with immune diseases, inflammation. Okay, that's what I see all day, the damage from inflammation. And the big problem was this: I'm really doing trial and error. I use a chemical, doesn't always work. It might work. And then I put that back on the shelf. Maybe the insurance will pay for it. And I use another chemical. So what was I really doing? I was switching chemicals all the time. And then how do I choose a chemical? I go to expert guidelines, which talk about more drugs. So the paradigm was all the guidelines, the protocols, the algorithms, all of this was centered on drugs. So I went to research. Okay, maybe there's something new here, right? We do grand rounds on research. And I remember one particular research day, and I'll share it here. It was around the animal or the marine animal called the zebrafish. It turns out the zebrafish has genes very similar to human genes, and you can actually make it a prototype to study immune, like a you can manipulate it, you can change it, and see its downstream effects. So I'm in this research meeting, okay, and everybody's applauding this researcher. The whiteboard is there. He's saying the B cells and the T cells, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to delete and insert in the genomic map of this fish and see what happens. Now, he had had millions of dollars of research, and I'm in the room. I'm clapping along with the others, like, woo, we're going to get the holy grail to get on top of immune diseases and cure them. So this is how research is done. It's animal models, mouse models, rabbit models, dog models, whatever the models. This was a zebrafish. Now, at night, when I go home, I didn't feel so good. I didn't know why. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I wasn't feeling good. And I actually sat on my couch and said, what's going on here? What is bothering me? I look at my patient list. There's nothing there. It's bread and butter rheumatology, rheumatoid, gout, But something bothered me, and I closed my eyes and I really went into silence. Silence is a great way to reset what's going on in my day today. It's a superpower to go into silence. And I remember sitting on my couch, Rochester, Minnesota, and then the flash comes of this research on the whiteboard. And I remember thinking, something's wrong with that research. By now, I had read one very seminal text in my life, okay, which is David Hawkins' Power versus Force. It's the map of consciousness. Consciousness isn't just one thing.
Right.
It's a spectrum, okay, from all levels. You can be greedy, you can be academic, you can be intellectual, you can be willing, all of these levels are there.
Yeah, I like how he explains it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So consciousness is very relevant in medicine because in medicine we think analytical. We're in the intellect realm. We
Right.
investigate something like the zebrafish. A minus B equals C. in this genetic map, right? This is how we were thinking. I came across it that evening in my meditation a very different way. I said, something's wrong with this research. And I sat with it and I realized something. This was a big aha for me, that whenever you do something in science, it either takes you towards life or away from life.
Yes.
Towards life. What is life? That's God.
Yeah.
God is magnificent. You're either going to be happy, solve a big problem, but this was not solving a big problem. The zebrafish research was taking me away from life,
Yes.
was actually harming, was not going to lead to some big breakthrough in solving human crises of inflammation. I sat there and I realized I don't want to be part of this research. I wasn't directly involved. I was just clapping and saying, woo, woo, nice, nice. So I was applauding an intellectual endeavor. And the next day, I said, I don't want to be a part of this research. Don't put my name on that. Now, in academics, you're publish or perish, okay? You want to be part of a team. You're going to put your name on this research. But when you're aware of spiritual realities, you have a responsibility. You have a self-responsibility. And my chairman was very confused at the time. He says, why are you making this decision? I said, don't worry about how I reached it, because he wouldn't understand that I'm going towards life in everything I do. And this was not, in my estimation, a good research. It's not science for humanity. It is science to get a certificate on your wall. Very different. It's
Understood.
ego-based.
Yep.
I was clapping his ego. We were saying, woohoo, you got X million dollars. Do you see where we were going here? It was yet another accolade. And we were going to, celebrate that. Now, okay, it might take us a little way forward to understand biology, but the bigger player here is the field effect, the context, not just the content of a zebrafish and what we're doing to this animal. The bigger player was consciousness. And I was aware of that a little bit. And I said, "Ooh, stop, Nisha. Stop right here." And my decision then was, I'm not going to be part of this research. That's huge. I walked away. You're at a fork in a road. Do you go this way? You go with the science and get, more papers, or are you going to go towards consciousness? I decided to go consciousness. And that's a big fork in the road. So that's one thing. The big problem here is drugs going to get rid of inflammation and all of the toxicity in the body that is dysregulated with zebrafish research? I said, no. No, it may give us a new chemical, but that is not the way. I was playing with chemicals, trial and error. This chemical, that chemical wasn't healing.
Yes.
Wasn't healing, okay? It gives you some bandwidth, yes, you do need steroids, and you don't say no. I was prescribing, but I wasn't getting the full picture.
Not the cure.
It's not the cure.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just want to say something, that you do need a Band-Aid here and there. Okay. You do need the fire extinguisher. Like, I'm going to get rid of the fire of inflammation here, And so I don't say no to the conventional care, but there's always in the back of my mind, there's something more here. What is that more? So the big problem was, we're chemical medicine. We're stuck in chemical medicine. And so the big problem was, what's the other thing? What's the other thing? And this was where there was this idea in Nisha's mind about energy, but I didn't know what. What was the energy? What does that really mean? And I actually went to the medical textbooks, and you can see the whole library. I was reading medical textbooks and looking at the index, energy, and there's nothing.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
nothing in my medical education that dives into energy. Okay. there's no entry in your medical textbook to talk about energy, and that's a big gap. That's a big, huge gap. No, nothing about energy and nothing about consciousness, nothing about what really animates the human body or the human mind, okay?
It's
So,
beautiful how you cross those boundaries
I have.
and you just pursued your heart.
Well, okay, so here was the thing. I didn't know what this energy word meant. Okay, but it was really a universal principle in nature. Energy is absolutely essential for how you grow, how you repair, how you regenerate the body's tissues. And it's not just what you're eating. There's something more fundamental installed by nature into the body system. And that's where we sort of skirt around it in medicine. We talk about acupuncture, we talk about the biofield, talk about qi, and look at all of the different terms. There's no unified term. Okay, there's another problem in science. So it turns out that I was invited to write a book chapter in a medical textbook, integrative medicine, around the subject of Qigong. What is Qigong? It's a form of Tai Chi. Okay, we're getting a little closer now. And so I look at randomized controlled trials for Qigong. And lo and behold, in the 2000s, there was a lot of work in Qigong, do Qigong versus no Qigong for asthma, do Qigong versus no Qigong for pain, do Qigong versus no Qigong for children's attention in the classroom. Okay. And all of this was quite positive, actually. And I said, oh, wow, wow, wow. I could write a book chapter on just the randomized control trials, but that was not enough. What is chi? What is this? What characterizes it, right? We need to go. And so I was sort of rattled by this, and I was looking more and more in the literature. That's when I stumbled literally into Tiller's work.
Oh, I was going to ask the
I
lecture.
stumbled into his papers, what are subtle energies, but there's others, okay? And then I thought, oh my God, wait a second here. Somebody's written about these energies, and it is physics. So
Right.
physics was crossing into biology. That's worthwhile. Physics is more, could I say, aligned with the context. Not just the content, but it always tries to figure out what's this invisible milieu that we find ourselves in? What is these invisible atoms and molecules doing? How do we calculate and characterize energies? And they're much more aligned with the truth. The field, biofield, if I can call it here. I'm throwing big words, I know that. But subtle energies was critical for me to bridge this atom of this drug and then make a jump to the subtle energies. There is a bridge, because what animates the chemical potentials in your body? When you take all of these things and food, what's really digesting it? What's really making use of the Tylenol chemical for my headache? What's really doing that? You need energy systems.
Energy.
It's not just
Prana.
your digestive juices, or no, there's something more fundamental. And that, when you're growing as a baby, those energy systems are there, and they're there in every mammal. That's really tremendous. Just that sentence to say that you have a plug inside of you. You don't have to plug into a wall socket.
You're always
You
connected.
you already have the subtle energies. They're already powered up. You can be a full battery or you can be a depleted battery, but they're always there to a lesser or greater extent, animating your cellular mechanisms. Okay, that's what's going on. I was very excited, and I look at Tiller's paper many times, and I put it into the reference section of that Qigong book chapter. And that's when I realized, when I look at his paper, it's full of physics, full of physics definitions and calculations. And it was the first pass by a physicist to describe. First pass means he was laying the groundwork. And you need to start somewhere, okay? And so he came from a physics perspective where I was thinking A plus B, and oh my God, this is too dense, too coarse. We need to fly here. Tiller was already flying, okay? He was quite unique in his own way because he's a physicist at Stanford. I never knew that. I didn't meet him when he was at Stanford. And his major career at Stanford as a materials scientist, as an engineer was unique. Why? Why? And an engineer connects the dots. And an engineer makes new things, connect a bridge from here to there, point A to point B. He had that mindset. He had that intellectual capability to do that. So he saw that these subtle energies of the body, and we'll come back to that. What does subtle mean? What does it mean in physics terms? Okay. But he connected the dots that the subtle energies are a way for the chemical energies to really work. Okay. He saw that. And he wasn't even a biologist, but you don't need to be. And then he was a material scientist. What does a material scientist do? They know how a structure of something, say here, water is. What are the molecules consist of? What are they capable of? And he can create new materials. He was a scientist at DuPont, many patents under his belt because he was in charge of making new materials. That was his task. He could manipulate, say, rubber or water and make new rubber and new things or new paint and new things that are sustainable. Okay, he could do that. That was his expertise. So, material scientist, engineer, he had expertise in crystals. And what are crystals? They're molecules that are arranged in a very specific way, very pattern. Okay, that gives rise to crystals with new properties, conduction, healing, and I mean, I'm throwing again words out, but crystals are ordered molecules, ordered substances, and materials. So he had all this expertise in physics, material scientist, engineer, crystals. He could really see, hey, wait a second, use all his mathematics to put the first order of discipline, what are subtle energies? And offer that in his paper, What Are Subtle Energies? And I invite that this is an open source paper. You can get it on Google Scholar. Okay. I invite your sorry?
Please share it with us.
No, What Are Subtle Energies is on Google Scholar. You
Oh,
just write
okay.
What Are Subtle Energies by Tiller, and it'll come up, and you can download it and read it. But it's heavy going, okay? It's it's equations and physics terms, but it was so essential because it seized me. Can I just say I went, oh my God, there's somebody's written on this. Because when I do Qigong and all these randomized controlled trials are picking up the effects, the signal was there. It is beneficial for human health, from asthma, children's development, for pain. Something about the nervous system calms down without drugs. Without drugs, right? And what we're saying here for me as a rheumatologist, whoa, there wasn't, if you are on drugs, it can augment and amplify it. So we need to know about subtle energies. We have to go there. It is worthy of a medical scientist's time to look there. It is worthy of my time to go into the science, even though I don't know physics, and I don't. I do 1 + 1 = 2, okay? That's the extent of my math. But
And I could see the spark while you're explaining about Dr. Tiller's work, and the same, like, I could see how inspired you were to write your book and learn all about physics and
yeah,
still explain everything so beautifully to bring out Dr. Tiller's work. And that speaks a lot for me.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with us.
So, chi, the biofield, and all of these terms were under this umbrella called subtle energies. And when you do yoga, when you meditate, I feel these things. By the way, I meditate every morning and I feel very warm. I feel a stream in my palms and feet. That's my signal that I'm
Mm.
connected. Okay.
And I
And I
remember
go
Dr.
into
Tiller
silence.
asked you to meditate every morning, right?
Yeah, Tiller, before he said, no, I don't want to work with you. He said, no, go
Yeah,
back to
yeah,
Mayo.
I
That's
know.
you don't belong here. You should go back. And I was really crushed. I thought, oh no, I really want to do this because this is the truth. Something's very immense what he's finding here. I need to go there because all I was doing is more chemicals, more grand rounds on animal models and zebrafish. That was not where I was going to go. Science is about discovering the truth,
Yeah.
not just profit.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, you need some money to go grounds and all that. Okay, but ultimately you want to serve your own growth, your own discovery, your own humanity. Okay, I was very determined. And so when I reached out to Tiller at first, he said, no, I think you don't belong in physics. And I was really disappointed. He had a change of heart. I don't know how. I don't know why. And I think he saw that medicine is stuck and that maybe he needs somebody in the medical field to communicate something about his discoveries, his physics, and that he had a change of heart. And I remember that phone call very well, that he called me. And I don't know how he got my number, but he called me and he said, I've been thinking your colleagues need a new paradigm. Paradigm is something that really shifts thinking, okay? Paradigm, that's the word paradigm. You need a new paradigm because you don't see what I see. And I sort of was scrambling with this chi, whatever that was, and I was giving meaning to his paper, What are Subtle Energies? And he says, I will work with you if you can communicate something of the physics and the truth to your colleagues so that they can get on board beyond just chemistry, that they can build on the chemistry and take humanity to a new level, a new rung in understanding to heal the human body. I was excited with that phone call. Then he said something. He says, I have no money, no funding. I don't care. I said, I don't care. I don't care. I want to go there. Can you please mentor me? And then, and then he said one other thing. You need to start meditating. Can you see what he said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I read that, I'm like,
When he said
wow.
that, I went exactly at the end of the line. That's the mentor. That's the mentor. He put such a gentle and firm emphasis on meditation for me. Now, he didn't say, do it this way, for how long. No, no instructions. That was up to me. And look at this, Lakshmi. When I've applied to medical school, there was nothing anywhere about meditation, right? Do
Right.
you meditate? That's the
Yep.
most important skill for a human to do because you become aware of your internal terrain. You become aware of your internal likes and dislikes. You become aware of all of your states, internal states from ooh to oh, right? You have all of this spectrum We talked about the map of consciousness. You can be down in the dumps or you can be very joyful. Today I was, oh, it's Friday. I'm going to be talking to Lakshmi Pooja. Woohoo. Okay, so we have all these. Maybe I'll
Right.
confuse her. I don't know, but I'm going to have a good conversation. No, here I am. I'm talking. So when Tiller said, meditate, I realized I was missing that. It's not just about excellence in equations. He was saying, become aware of your
Yourself.
consciousness,
Yep.
of your mind. And by the way, when you start meditation, it's not going to be one and done. No, we're into instant gratification in our world. Oh, I need a Tylenol and I'm going to get rid of this, right? No. And when I met Tiller in Scottsdale, when I moved away from Minnesota to Arizona, during one of the dinners, he said, meditation will bring up your limitations or good things. It will bring up things. Look at it. If it's discomfort, if it brings up a limitation in you, look at it. Resolve it. Own it. And then you can let go of it. So you're not doing meditation just for la la and nice. You're really looking to understanding your own self. Know thyself. That's one of the most important teachings in Master Jesus. Know thyself.
And
Accept
that,
yourself.
yeah. And knowing yourself only happens with after a lot of churning. And that
It
churning does,
happens in that meditative time.
yeah.
It happens in the silence.
Hmm.
Okay, at first, people can use all these apps and ding dongs and guided and music. Sure, go ahead.
Right.
I just sat. I sit just silently, okay? So Tiller said, give meaning to all of the subconscious that will bubble up into your conscious mind. Look at it and understand it, because therein lies the clue. You begin to understand your prejudices, and there are all these things, from family, from your youth, from academics, from, hey, I need another certificate on the wall over there. No, you don't. You need to understand yourself and your motivations. Understand that, and then you can recalibrate. And you go, oh, there it is again. And what Tiller said was, you will begin to see your internal terrain, and then new things will come up. You'll resolve this, new things come up. Another stack comes up, another stack, and you grow your bandwidth. You become a fuller human. You're not just in this little thing, uh, going from breakfast to lunch to dinner, going to bed, and doing the whole cycle again. You are now moving into silence, looking at that, and giving meaning to the things that come up in your life. And that's what I do at the bedside a lot now. Okay, I say, what has meaning here? How can we improve your day to day? What is motivating you to even show up in this clinic visit? And those are things that doctors don't necessarily do. We say, what's your pain level? And can you tie your shoelace? In rheumatology, can you have hand function? And that's okay, but we got to move beyond that. There's a human story here that we're not diving into. So Tiller showed me that to be excellent in science, know yourself. And I'll tell you, when I got to know Tiller, I rapidly got to know, don't call him between 3 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We used to meet between 9 and 11 a.m. We mutually agreed. I had no clinic. And I came from Minnesota to an empty apartment in
Right.
Arizona. I had an airbed and a stack of books. That was it, okay? I rented a couch so he could sit somewhere.
Yeah.
That's how I started. There was nothing fancy. Just start somewhere. And um, yeah, I got to know my mind through meditation. It's one of the greatest gifts you can do. And people say, "Oh, but my monkey mind." Yep, It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And now I see the thoughts as they come, okay? And I surrender to the process. I don't attach to the thought. I really don't. Um, for example, this morning was Lakshmi Pooja's podcast and to just have fun to be here because honestly, look, I write lots of notes. I'm making notes like what is beneficial for the listener today? I don't know. And I just let it run. Like you said, here's my big question to you. How did you go from Mayo to Tiller? Where's the gap? And I said, oh, there was a big problem. And then there was, and I don't really prepare. I just say, okay, let's tackle this and then let's see where it takes us. So in your meditation, go into the silence and just be there present. And the day's demands are there. I'm not saying they're not, but I let them go. I do. I say, okay, well, whatever happened in Lakshmi Pooja's podcast will happen in Lakshmi Pooja's podcast, and we'll. So I'm gonna say this: meditation is my superpower. Okay, because I reorganize and show up. I reorganize and show up. And there's another way, if you cannot be silent, is contemplation. Contemplation. Just this, what we've just talked about. Know thyself. Know
Myself. Yep.
yourself. You could do that all day long. Know yourself as you're making your coffee, brushing your teeth. Know yourself. Who is this self? Who is motivating to pick up the brush? Who just motivated to make lemon water and have a drink?
Hmm.
Hmm?
Yep.
Who cares? Who is motivating? And that doer comes more and more. You're aligning with the field. You're not just in the content of, oh, lemon water, brushing teeth. That's a content of life. The context is a bigger canvas. That's where the mind works. The consciousness field is operating all of the time. And the more you meditate, you expand your bandwidth. And that's where subtle energy is coming back to that. When you're doing subtle energy work, whether it's Tai Chi or yoga or being in meditation, you're actually pumping your subtle energies. You're clearing out the debris. You're surrendering to the process. You get clearer and clearer. And in the context of your life, you make choices that take you towards life. You have discernment. That word, discernment, in your life what's good for you. The fork in the road is there. Am I going this way? Am I going to go towards more publications or am I going to go towards subtle energies and this physics? This I feel. Then that was really for me that pursuit of the truth, because that's towards
Beautiful.
life, towards God. And subtle energy has the candidacy to take you all the way. Okay, it takes you from this body. You want to be healthy body, right? You want to be healthy mind, right? And you want to be a healthy soul, right? Healthy body, mind, and soul. That's medicine. But we are focused on the body. Body,
Yep.
body, 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 body.
We're
Six
leaving the
pack
two
abs.
behind. Yep. Got it.
Yeah.
That's beautifully explained, Dr. Manek. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to make it very clear for a lot of us
I
and how
hope so. As you
yeah.
can see, I talk too much.
Nope, not at all. So, working with Dr. Tiller so closely, right?
Yeah.
And he proposed human intention can condition the space itself to behave differently. Like something he called raising the gauge symmetry of space. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So, can
Yes.
you help us understand what that means in practical terms?
Yes. Okay. So Tiller was a meditative man, right? I told you I couldn't call him between 3 and 4. He'd started his meditation practice for years, decades. And he started that when he was an Oxford fellow. He was at Oxford University in the 1970s. And his wife was there, Jean Tiller, and she says, Bill, we need to start meditating. And he was all for it. He said, this makes a lot of sense to him. And So he was meditating every single day without he and Jean Tiller, they would settle into their chairs and meditate, just silence. And in that, so he was a very self-developed man. He knew himself, and he had this excellence in physics. He was a very he was from University of Toronto, physics. So he had excellence in the outer way, and he was an excellent inner way. So what he had done was unite this logical mind, logos, as he called it, and the mystical mind, mythos. Unity of logos and mythos. That's the first thing. So by the time he was doing these experiments at Stanford, you're talking 25 years of meditation already there. He could feel the subtle energies, and he said, there's a force here, subtle. I can feel it, and I can move it. I can go from the heart down to my toe, and he could feel it. You'll feel it in Tai Chi, you feel it in yoga. Okay, these subtle energies are moving, and I could do that in Tai Chi. I could play the ball of energy. And the word subtle is important because Tiller used the word subtle because we cannot see it. And in medicine, when I do dissection in anatomy, I don't see the energy channels. Where
Right.
are they?
Right.
I was dissecting muscles and tendons and nerves and all that. So where are they? But subtle, Tiller is saying, is they are so fast, faster than the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
So we're breaking a rule in physics. Nothing goes faster than the speed of light. That's a sacred cow of physics. Tiller is saying, not so, not so. It's too quick. Our instruments cannot pick it up. Also, it's not electric. And our instruments, when we measure anything in the body, is with the electric machine.
Right.
It cannot
Right.
pick it up. Okay, but it's there, you can feel it. So Tiller used the word subtle to differentiate from the accepted physics forces, which is gravity. I mean, if I drop something, if I drop my pen here, it drops. It's on the ground now. Okay, it's different. Subtle energies are different than gravity. It's different than electricity, and it's different than the nuclear forces that we can calculate. The neutron and the proton are held together, okay? So that's the first thing. You have to understand subtle energies are real, but they do not behave like the fundamental accepted forces in physics that we know today, all right? All right, so that's the first thing. So Tiller said, okay, I can feel the subtle energies, but there's another big animal in the room here, consciousness. Consciousness. And he, through his meditation practice, his bandwidth was huge, okay? He's like a rishi.
Right.
Who's
Yeah.
a rishi? A rishi is the
Saint.
Sanskrit word for a sage. He
Yeah.
was like a sage.
Yeah.
And he was, I told you, a engineer. He could connect the dots that, hey, subtle energies are expanding my bandwidth. I work on my subtle energies, they're clearing blockages, and my consciousness is much
Rising.
bigger. Yeah, he's
Mm-hmm.
like a sage. And so he made the connection that consciousness needs to be studied, but not with the brain. He's not putting brains in an MRI machine. He realized consciousness is the field, the backdrop against all of the things that we're doing. You can be a consciousness of a physicist or a consciousness of a Nisha Manek in medicine doing drugs all day, a consciousness of a grandma making chocolate chip cookies who's full of love. Those are all stages, a place of heart. By this time of meditation practice, his physics was turned towards love. How can I serve my humanity? That's magnificent to say right there, okay?
Right. Right.
So he said, the brain is not where consciousness comes from. The consciousness is a field. How do we access that field? We access it by thoughts. And what's a thought? It's intention.
Vibration. Right. Okay.
It's intention. My intention, my thought to show up at Lakshmi Pooja's podcast today, that's my intention. That's intention, just even saying that. And watching my clock that, oh, we have an appointment. In this space-time, there's a bigger thing working all the time. But it takes shape in intention. I am going to show up on August 1st to be on Lakshmi Pooja's podcast, Lakshmi's Room. That's intention. But Nisha's consciousness is huge. Okay, I told you I was in my meditation and I surrendered Lakshmi Pooja's podcast that it will happen. But I noted it and it worked its way through my decision. Here's the problem with our decisions. Anybody listening to this, okay? We change our minds too much. We're not coherent. For me, to be on a podcast was very firm. I didn't change my mind. I didn't cancel our appointment. I didn't do anything but show up. That's my intention. So Tiller realized something very crucial. This is a writer-downer. Consciousness, we can debate all day long. What is consciousness? Nobody knows. That's the hard problem of consciousness, but we can agree on something. Consciousness does something through intention. It's a thought that you hold on to. That's intention. My thought to show up at Lakshmi's podcast today was unequivocal. Nothing else came into it. Really, nothing else. I'm a doctor. I want to write this, do this, do this. Really, I showed up. Nothing else matters right now but to be in Lakshmi's presence, okay? That's the first thing. So Tiller said, consciousness operates how? By intention. And what is intention? It is a singular focus. We change our minds too much. Don't change your mind. You want a bigger car? Start there. Write it down, okay? I want a red Mercedes. Well, then write it and contemplate it. What does it mean for you to have your red Mercedes? What does it fulfill in you? What are you lacking now? So Tiller said, intention is everything. And Dr. Hawkins has said that too. Intention is everything because it's the hidden motivator for your behaviors, for your achievements. For me, my motivator to follow Tiller was seeking the truth of being a human. To seek the truth, go towards truth. And for me, the trampoline here was subtle energies. Gee. And I went, I don't know what this is. And I found it in Tiller. He went, here is it. It is the truth. It is a force. It is a power. It's inside of you. You want to pump it up with certain practices. Meditation is one way where you can clear the debris that is clouding your view, clouding your energies, draining your batteries. Okay. So consciousness works through intention. Here's the other thing that I loved. Here's what Tiller said that is so beautiful. I asked him one day, because, intention in the dictionary is what? A singular aim, an objective. Tiller said something that was so beautiful. Intention is a process of creation. My intention is a process to seek the truth. And the truth was a creation of bridging science and spirit. It took form in a book. My commitment to Tiller was, yes, I'm going to communicate to my colleagues something of the truth of your discoveries around subtle energies, around intention, because that will take us to a new level in medical healing. Okay, so Tiller's definition of intention was, intention is a process of creation. You can create a mathematical equation. You can write a paper, what are subtle energies? You can create the Mona Lisa. You can be Albert Einstein, and you are no different than the Einstein of today, really. You're no different than equals mc squared, which Einstein did. What makes you think he's some hero? You have the same consciousness. You just haven't developed it. That's something magnificent to say, okay? So Tiller said, I am going to test my own intention. He actually looked for a scientist who could do this work, that they could hold one thought, and he realized there is no one like that except him. He said, okay,
Right.
I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the heavy lifting to study my intention in the physics lab. Just look at that. The
Right.
physics
That's
lab at
huge.
Stanford Universities, okay?
Yeah.
So he realized, firstly, you have to make an intention, you have to create a thought. And
Right.
how are you going to test the thought? Because we are wavering all the time.
You have to keep holding on to it.
You hold on to that thought. So this is what he did. And I've been through his experiments in the physics lab and at his home in Scottsdale. He would read out his intention. Let's talk about the water experiments, right? This is the target. This is the water. And he said, well, water is so important for health. And we know the characteristic of water, H2O molecules. He's a material scientist. Remember that. He knows the possibilities of water, how malleable it is. And what is the one thing that we measure in medicine? pH. It's absolutely at 7.4. You go a little bit over here, 7.9, or, less than like 6.8, you're going to be a dead animal, okay? He picked something very central about water, pH, okay? And he said, okay, without any chemical additions, without doing anything to the water, can we change it with just our thought? Now, imagine your water is out here and you are here and holding a thought to change the pH, a sealed water. You don't want it to evaporate, of course. That's impossible. That's what I thought. I thought, oh, come on, that's silly. It can't be done. Tilda said, oh, really? It can't be done? That's your assumption. That's a scientific assumption that your thinking, your thought, your intention, unwavering, cannot have an effect on the glass of water. And he showed that that was not true. His intention had huge effects. It wasn't a random blip, not some little, no, huge signal. And I remember thinking, this is impossible. Come on. Until I saw the data. I went to Payson Labs. He had Central Arizona Labs. This is entirely possible. But there was something missing that Tiller didn't realize in his model. First of all, intention, you write it out, you hold the thought, you go into meditation. I'm going through the steps here. And he held it for like half an hour. Now, whenever you do experiments like he did on energy, thermodynamics, laws of energy, you have to also look at the ambient conditions in the room of the labs. He was monitoring that too, because that would have an impact on your water. Okay? So that's where the clue was, a big clue, that the space itself began to shift in a very fundamental way. The temperature, the water temperature, it was oscillating in a very specific rhythmic way. And he thought, why would it do that? He was actually really puzzled. He thought it was some anomalous, weird thing about the lab. And he did mathematics because it was there. It was there for a good while. He and Dr. Dibble, his experimental arm of the physics team, would look at these oscillations in the room, and they thought it was the circadian temperature. The earth goes through circadian rhythm. The sun rises and it sets and the room goes cooling. And was it the air conditioning? Just it went on and went off. Right now in my room, was it something to do with the air conditioning? He put fans in the room. No, the oscillations continued. It's nothing to do with if you put on a fan in the room right now, the papers will fly across the room, right? But In his case, putting on the fans, putting on the air conditioners, nothing perturbed these oscillations. And he realized something. This is really profound. This is really profound. And he goes into Paul Dirac's work, Empty Space. That what is really oscillating isn't material stuff. It is the non-dispersive medium, as Paul Dirac would call it, the empty space. Yet it's not stuff. It's not atoms and molecules and electrons flapping around in this. Okay, isn't flapping around oscillating. It's the non-dispersive medium, empty space. There's no stuff in it. From the unmanifest rises the manifest, right? That's what Genesis 1 says. And I didn't know what that meant. Paul Dirac's work was cornerstone in Tiller's thinking. Paul Dirac was a quantum mechanical genius out of Britain, and he did mathematics around the electron's behavior. And he realized the electron has to come out of the field. When the electron pops out of the field, when there's enough energy in the field, out pops the electron, and what leaves behind? A hole in the field. You always need balance. What's that hole? It's a positive molecule, I shouldn't say molecule,
Positron.
a positive particle. So
Is it also called positron?
yeah, it was electron and positive. It was antimatter, he called it then. And he was embarrassed. Paul Dirac said, oh my God, we've never seen this particle positron, except 4 years later in Caltech, in the cloud chambers, you pulse the electricity and out pops electrons out of nothing, out of the field. And what's left behind was the positron in the cloud chamber was going the opposite way. And Carl Anderson saw that track and said, whoa, gave meaning to it. It wasn't just anomalous. And there was discovery of positrons. But what's in that field, that empty space? That's where Tiller is going. He says, that is non-dispersive. That's the empty space of the room. That space needs coordinates. That's what's called gauge symmetries. You see, it's arbitrary. I can't call this south and north, but you see in space, there is no coordinates. So they call it gauge symmetries. In our normal reality, we call it direct space, okay? It's where space and time, and I can talk to Lakshmi Pooja and say all this. But along that same direct space, at all times, is what Tiller called reciprocal space, our space. It's existing all the time. And you're connected to that space in differing amounts, okay? You're fully connected or you're not. When you're fully connected to that higher realm, that's where cell energies are operating. That's why I said your body has reciprocal space. We don't see it. I didn't see it in my dissection, but it's there. Okay? That's the beauty of what Tiller was doing. Connecting. He's an engineer. He was connecting the dots. There are these energetic forces. They connect you to the higher realms. That higher realm has different physics. It's a higher realm of nature. Oh, it's also in your body. I'm giving you the rough and tough look at it. But it was very exciting for me to
That
see
is
this
exciting.
and to feel it. You have to feel the truth about this. And I thought, that's it. I want to go here and write this book. Does this help you?
Yes, it does. And he came up with this same intention holding. He came up with these devices called IHDs, intention host devices, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
how did he store the information
Right.
or the
So look,
intention? And how were they broadcasted?
yeah. So look, so really, and I hope I get across what I'm seeing. Okay. So I asked Tiller that we find it impossible that human intention can change a target like water. The pH can go up, the pH can go down according to his decision, his intention. He wrote it out, okay? And writing an intention out is very important. Wherever you're starting, write it out. Take a book. I have an intention book. I'm always writing things out. And I look at them and I revise them. Okay? So Tiller made this very important point. Write out your intention. I want a red Mercedes. Then look at it. What is the emotion it evokes in you? Write it. And when Tiller was meditating on the water, I want the water pH to go up by 1 full pH unit. He wrote it much more sophisticated, physics language, hydrogen ions and all that. I'm not going to, we don't want to get the reader too cross-eyed here, but just know he wrote out 1 pH and he went into meditation. And this is something very critical when you're holding an intention. You're in the present moment and you visualize it going up. And Jean was part of the imprinting team. She went, oh, and then there was great joy. They pumped emotion into that energy like it's going to happen in this present time. There's a clue there, okay? You pump emotion. That's your subtle energies pumping. And you are not separate from the space. You're
You're part.
conditioning the space all the time. So your home becomes very not direct space, it's really lifted. Like we go to certain clinics, it drains you, like the doctor's office. And yet you go to other healing offices like, oh, I like this space. What's going on here? That's what Tiller was doing. When you go into his patient labs, they were very uplifted. I would even remark to him that we had a very heavy meeting here, but I feel light. I feel refreshed. And he said, oh, Nisha, you just entered a conditioned space. This is conditioned. The physics lab, all those computers and all those instruments I was entering a very unique space. Okay. Now, I want to say something. And you mentioned the intention host device. Okay. Tiller held his thought for half an hour, 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. I was with him. I was there in these sessions. And then he would come out and they would all check in with each other that felt good. All right. But this is a very unique protocol. Would it work or would it fail? Now, no one can hold their intention 24/7, hold the intention of pH forever and ever and ever for weeks and weeks and months. So Tiller realized something very important, that human consciousness, when it's very high, has the ability to change materials. Or the information is held in something. In this case, a box, just an ordinary box, okay? That was the box that was broadcasting the information to the water. It wasn't touching the water. It didn't need to. That intention host device held Tiller's information. Intention is information. I want the pH of water to go up. That's it. He held it into the box. And that box was stable, amazingly enough. Most people change their mind that the intention isn't held. They're angry with the toaster, for God's sakes. We're slamming down the toaster. We get into the car and the batteries run low. And you're cursing on your drive to work. Tiller wasn't like that. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Mhm. He's very
So he
present.
realized something, that a human consciousness does impact machinery or an object. It has the potential to hold the intention. And that object can in turn broadcast. It doesn't need to touch the target. Why not? Because the field of consciousness is transmitting it from the box. It doesn't need a telephone wire. It doesn't need an electronic connection. Let me put it another way, and I wrote it in Bridging Science and Spirit. I call it the granny effect. When your grandma prays for you,
I
Lakshmi,
remember.
you
Yep.
suddenly feel it. She may even call you, go, oh, Grandma, I was thinking about you, and here you are on the phone. What was the connection?
Telepathic connection.
I'm not going to call it telepathic. I'm going to call it the field effect. I'm not going to confuse with more terms,
Okay.
because
Sure.
the people who are here, you get a little jump in your system. How did you pick it up? How did you pick up Grandma's prayer for you without her even connecting you with you on the phone? Prayer works. Prayer is powerful. How did you receive it? How did the prayer know your address, that you live in Orange County on this street and this house? How did it penetrate the front door? Come on, right?
Yep.
We're saying a lot of fundamental things here. Subtle energies are not impeded by a
Right.
physical object. So Tiller's intention in this box, which is holding the information for a stable period, was then impacting the target. How stable is this object, the intention host device? Tiller determined this. At first, it was about 3 months, and then it was like more than a year. Some of his devices are still ongoing. Okay, they hold them in, I
Attention.
think it's in Pine, Arizona right now. There's archives. I know intention works because I've been to India and I've been to certain of those old ancient temples. And the original, we talked about Adi Shankaracharya, and you feel him today, centuries later. Those are the saints. Tiller says, you're pumping your space all the time. I sit in my favorite chair to meditate. I'm in my library right now, but for meditation, I don't sit here. I do sometimes. When I have a difficult patient, I actually do ask for help. I want to do the best I can. But I do have a favorite chair. I condition that little corner of my home. And when I sit there, I go into silence. You're all doing that to different degrees. Know this. Your intention is very powerful and will move mountains for you. Have the faith and trust. Jesus said the faith of a mustard seed will
Seed.
make it grow into a mustard tree. Huge. So Tiller knew that your intention, if you hold it, it can be held in an object. And this is where crystal healing comes in. Okay, quartz crystal, that ordered machinery of a crystal, it can hold information. But I don't use crystals, I don't do any of that, but I know my intention is always connecting with the patient. We're not separate. I may be here in Orange County, California, they might be in Montana, but I know, and they feel it. They go, I was looking forward to it. It's so lovely to connect with you today, Dr. Manek. Do you see? They're using certain words. They're giving me a clue. So, human consciousness, when it is in the heart level, will totally impact a machine, which goes on to impact a target. Now, Tiller did that to show he wasn't out to profit from anything. He wanted to show that human beings have tremendous capabilities. They're latent. Wake up. Wake up. Right?
This
So
reminds me of
that,
Yoganandaji's
yeah, so
book. I
this,
mean, his movie Awake, and also there's a quote by him. He says, there is a magnet in your heart, and that's what attracts those right people, right opportunities, right places to you. So that makes sense, and it's all
yeah.
connected.
So Tiller's science is very unique because here we are, we're beneficiaries of science. We can connect on this computer, we're talking to each other, we have clear view, and we are able to hear, we're creating information. But Tiller's science goes beyond that. It's personal now. It is connecting the dots from subtle energies, meditation, increasing your bandwidth of consciousness, going higher, transcending those limitations in your own belief. Get rid of the crap. Go higher. Meditate. You'll get more. Higher and higher. Now you become an adept and then a master. That's it. He became a master. And when I was with him, I could feel it. There was a silence around him. And he said, silence is a way to self-knowledge. Science is a way to self-knowledge. That's from a sage. He uses equation knowledge to take you all the way to knowing yourself. And he connected he bridged from this science all the way to, we did the Buddha's relics, that these
Yeah.
relics are awake. They're objects. That's what I mean. That's a device Buddha left behind 2,700 years on. It's still conscious, this object. Isn't that fascinating?
It
But
is.
these things are real. They're as real as anything. They're as real as this glass. So
Yeah.
you cannot dismiss that. You have to look at it and go, So Tiller and I gave meaning to the relics of Buddha and realized it encapsulates subtle energies. And it encapsulates subtle energies in a very specific way. Loving kindness. That these relics, when you give meaning and you look at them, you're being blessed by them and you're elevated and you can test it out. And so read Bridging Science and Spirit, of course, because I explain it,
Yes.
that we confirm that Tiller's model is correct. He's on the right path to the truth. It will take you towards life. It will take you towards Buddha. It will take you towards Christ consciousness, so
Yeah. Yeah. He'll take you from science to spirit very
it will take
subtly.
you from science to spirit. Yes.
Yep. Like Homo spiritus, like how you mentioned in your book.
Yeah, I wrote at the end, we are thinking animals, Homo spiritus. Homo sapiens. We're the frontal lobe, the
Right.
brain,
Right.
wow. And that we're evolving. Don't get stuck here in this chemical medicine or this Homo sapiens or the zebrafish, right? We're coming back to that. The analytical, intellectual mind, which we worship. We worship our own minds. Oh, my idea is bigger than your idea. I'm going to get the NIH grant. And I'm going to put a certificate on the wall. Right. That's what we do all day. Okay, I see journals all day long, medical journals. Oh, my idea. That one's idea. Oh, he got published first. Homo sapiens. There's excellence there. But we need to now grow into Homo spiritus. We're actually, and this is what Tiller said. This is magnificent, actually, Puja, Lakshmi Pooja. You remind me of something he used to say all the time. You are a spiritual being having a physical existence. Wow. From a physicist.
True.
Okay. He
Yeah.
didn't say, oh, let me get more patents and I'm going to be a millionaire. He didn't say that. No, he did not. And that's why when he told me on the phone, I want you to meditate, I went, oh my God, that's it. That's it. Somehow I was hungry. I was starved for that. I was going more drugs and more. No, I want to go here. So let's talk about setting an intention. I want people to, if you're listening to this and inspired, get a book, get your diary of intentions and start writing it out. Start writing it out. You know what Tiller used to write at the end of the intention? Thy will be done.
Yeah, I remember going through that bonus section just before our talk earlier,
Yeah.
and it's all laid out beautifully step by step. Thank you, Dr. Manek.
Yeah, but thy will be done. All these years I used to think, oh, it's quite poetic, thy will be done. It was during the editing process when one of the editors of my book says, Nisha, that's the Lord's Prayer. And I was absolutely shocked. Thy will be done. Not Stanford University's will, not the editor's will, nobody's will. God, show me the truth in this protocol. Do you see? Show me the truth of this protocol, dear God. Thy will be done, not my will. Not Bill Tiller's will, not Nisha Manek's will, not the red Mercedes that I so desperately want. I keep on saying that because all of these things are a playground in our heads. Start to distinguish Tiller said, "Thy will be done, O God. Show me the truth of my scientific protocol." And by golly, he was shown. He was
Sure.
shown. And not only that, he was shown that the space is where the clue lies. So if you go into the basilica and make your wish, by golly, you will be answered. And I have seen that in my own life. You, Westminster Abbey, go and sit there and make a wish. Be careful what you wish for because it comes true. You know. Then you go, oh man, I didn't quite want that, but anyway.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Manek. Thank you for sharing all the wisdom, all the knowledge, and of course, the beautiful, beautiful, marvelous work of Dr. Tiller through your
Yeah,
book and through
what
your
a
words
mentor
today.
I have had.
I know I'm so happy for you that you got to experience him in his lifetime. Um,
Yeah.
and you made that choice,
You know,
probably that.
let me share something. Actually, you reminded me of something that when he finally agreed to meet with me and there was silence, and I realized Tiller didn't have devices or email. Dr. Dibble, his experimentalist, would check his mail. And they were very, I just wasn't getting anywhere. I said, I love your paper. I know there's a clue here. I really want to learn what you're talking about with these subtle energies. What is this? What does this equation mean? I was writing. No silence until I finally said, I'm coming to Scottsdale. I know you're in Arizona. Please. He finally, Bill says, okay, okay. Bill says he'll meet with you. And I went, oh my God, oh my God. So on the day, on the night, we were meeting for dinner. And I was actually giving a lecture in rheumatology in Scottsdale. That's why I was there. I was giving a lecture on rheumatoid arthritis or something. And I was meeting Dr. Tiller. I was terrified. I was actually really terrified. And I thought, I'm wasting his time. What was I thinking? I don't know what to ask this great man. He's a physicist. I mean, I had no commonality. It felt like, and this is what it felt like, if you're going to meet your rock star of science, it's like meeting Isaac Newton for a dinner. What would you say? I went, holy shit. Oh my God. I really said that internally. And my brother says, oh, for heaven's sakes, calm down. He wants to meet with you. Just be yourself. Just say, would you, what do you want to do? What's your intention here? Actually, my brother, you have an intention, right? You want to meet him, right? What are you trying to, what's your big why? And so clear the clutter in your mind, get coherent. And I did. And he was the most kind, funny. Our dinner meeting wasn't 1 hour, it was 4 hours. I remember walking away going, oh, I met my mentor. I met my
Yeah.
mentor. But he said no. And then he had a change of heart. And I told you, he called me and said, you have to meditate. And I think he saw in my the kind of way I was flitting from this idea to this idea to this idea, like I'm gonna get it all. No, you don't get it all. You develop that. You own it. And when I contemplated Paul Dirac's ideas of empty space, physical vacuum, non-dispersive medium, it took me a while. It took me a long time. And I went into Paul Dirac's original papers, actually. You've got to go there. Own it. Don't just say matrix and vibration and frequency. And people say these things, I'm doing that too a lot. Oh, your frequency and your vibration will, what does that mean? So I went into Dirac's papers and I remember the day, Singapore. I was writing the first draft of Bridging Science and Spirit. I'm walking up to the Central Universities. I'm thinking, space, because that's what Dirac writes. And it came. Because Tiller is saying non-dispersive medium. There's nothing there waving. There's no electron flapping, no air molecule dancing. It's the field. The field is communicating. The field is what? The space. And suddenly it all started to, but I needed to be in that horrible situation of sitting with this paper for hours, even days, and then it came. And I can feel it. The viewer may go, I don't know what she's talking about. Non-dispersive, is it what? But there's no stuff there.
Right.
Out of the unmanifest comes the manifest. That's spiritual teaching right there, Genesis 1. Anyway, I felt glad. And I remember I was so electrified on that pathway. There's somebody trimming the hedge. I was so, I get it. I think I get it. I get it. This man said in Malaysian, there are a lot of Malaysians. And he went, "Are you okay? You look like you've seen the ghost." And I thought, I'm sorry. I went to the library and I sat there for a long time and I thought, I get it. Dirac is going to be one of the bricks in the pillar of understanding. Tiller loved Dirac. He loved Paul Dirac so much. He says, people have forgotten Dirac, but he gave a very magnificent clue to human consciousness, how we interact. We're interacting with the space all the time. It's the empty space. And when you have enough energy, enough bandwidth, enough conscious, you've expanded enough meditation, boom, you're going to make a change in your environment. That's it. And the basilicas and all of the things that we see, the greatest creations of humankind, the stained glass windows, the architecture, and we all go there and we feel it different. You close your eyes, you go, you could transport me from this library in Orange County and put me in Westminster Abbey without me even, close my eyes. I know how that feels like. With no sensory input from my eyes or ears or nothing. How do you know that? How do you feel that? So space is a very big clue to human consciousness effects. Yeah. So I'm very grateful for your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manek. Thank you. I have a lot more questions. I was telling
Maybe
myself,
email me and then we'll pick it up again.
yeah, I was telling myself I'm bubbling with excitement with all of these questions that have been sitting in my head for almost 2 months since I've completed reading your book. So I'm like, I don't know if I would be able to justify today's podcast, but I said, I'm going to show up and see how it unfolds. So that's literally what I told myself. So
That's
I I think we will continue in another episode. So thank you
Anytime.
so much for your time, Dr. Manik, because I know you have to probably get back to your patients too. They'll be
But I
waiting
had so
for you.
much fun. See, we went over time, but who cares?
Yes, we did.
Time and space are meaningless in what we've been discussing because it's not of time and not of space in a
Yes,
paradoxical way.
yes, yes.
Anyway,
No.
Lakshmi Pooja, I wish you well. Thank you again for having me. And let's continue, okay?
Yes, yes, I do have more questions, Dr. Manik, and we will continue. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. Take a deep breath, carry the peace with you, and I will see you next time.